All right, well, when it comes to storm cleanup, you've got to call the Hunks. The moving company, College Hunks Hauling Junk, has been on the ground after storm disasters, including last year's Hurricane Helene and Milton. And it's not just their strength. The Hunks acronym stands for honest, uniformed, nice, kind service. Now, the gentlemen are shining a spotlight on America's junk crisis. And to put this into perspective, there's enough discarded items to fill 3 Empire State Buildings every second. And joining us now is Nick Friedman. He's the co-founder of College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving Company. Nick, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us this morning on Fox Weather. We know that it's Earth Month. Earth Day was just a few days ago, so that really puts sustainability in the spotlight. Can you break down just how big America's junk problem really is and what role College Hunks plays in addressing it?
Well, it's big enough that we started with a beat-up cargo van, just my buddy and I in college about almost 20 years ago. And today we have over 200 locations around the country and do over 300 million in annual sales, literally picking up people's unwanted items to take to be discarded, recycled, donated, or disposed of. So, you know, it's I would say when I first started, I was like, this can't be a viable, long-lasting business. People have this much stuff. They buy this many new things regularly, but we have clients who will, you know, tried and true use us every quarter, every other month, once a year to clean out the garage, the basement, the attic, get rid of the old furniture, the clutter, the debris. And of course, you know, when disaster strikes like the hurricanes, as you mentioned, we spring into action as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more, Nick. So during Hurricane Helene, your team was on the ground helping clean up Tampa. How does waste removal support communities really in the wake of natural disasters like this?
Yeah, so, you know, we obviously never really thought of ourselves as first responders. We thought of ourselves as kind of a consumer brand. We help people, again, make space in their home or their office to make room for the new stuff that they're buying. But we actually got a call from the Tampa mayor shortly after Helene, right before Milton, because there was so much debris piled up on people's curbs from the flooding, and those were going to turn into projectiles. So they needed extra trucks, they needed extra resources, and we were able to spring into action to help people clear out the stuff from the damaged items to make sure they didn't become swirling missiles during the second storm. And, you know, because we've got 200 locations, we had franchises throughout the country impacted. Up in Asheville, North Carolina, of course, there were, you know, devastation from the floods there. And we ended up getting called by several condemned apartment buildings and restaurants and hotels to help clear out the furniture there. So at the end of the day, you know, we never thought of ourselves as kind of a disaster recovery team, but because we've got trucks and labor, we were able to lend a hand in those circumstances as well.
Yeah, and when we're thinking about our next hurricane season, I mean, it's just right around the corner. How would you say people can go about preparing their homes in an eco-friendly way, really turning, you know, a seasonal clean out into a chance to reduce waste?
Well, you know, we like to say that we help people reduce the stress associated with clutter. There's actually studies that show there's a psychological relief of getting rid of the unwanted items that you're no longer using. And you know, it's funny, my business partner and I get into this little debate where you know, the more recent tariffs, he's saying that it's shining light on how much we buy that we don't really need, whether it's, you know, these trinkets or you know, plastic toys that our kids use from the Dollar Tree or Walmart or otherwise, or whether it's just stuff that, you know, decorations that end up taking space up in our garages. And you know, people spend a significant amount of money on storage and other things for things that they may not never use again. So being able to come face to face with the items that you have and say, hey, do I really need this? I mean, my garage flooded during the hurricanes in Tampa, and we ended up having to clear it all out. And as I was, you know, handling the items to get rid of, I was like, wow, I haven't touched this thing in over a year. So kind of a good rule of thumb is, have you used this in the past 6 months? Are you going to use it again in the next 6 months? And if not, you know, get it out of your way so that it's not taking up valuable space in your living area.
Yeah, that's great advice. And especially for me, Nick, as a female, I have way too many clothes and shoes. So I'm constantly always having to go through that in my head. Have I worn this in the last 6 months? No? Okay, got to give it away.
Donate. There's a great value there. You know, there's a lot of stuff that we have that does still have value that can be donated, which is something we do as well in terms of the items we haul away.
Yeah, absolutely. And last question for you, Nick. Of course, you know, you were touching on this, but your own family was also hit hard by Helene. How has that personal experience really influenced your commitment to, you know, giving junk a second life and supporting your community throughout the recovery process?
Yeah, well, we consider ourselves a socially conscious organization, purpose-driven, values-based, and we've got partnerships with both national nonprofits like Goodwill, Habitat Restore, Salvation Army, as well as a lot of local organizations. In Tampa, for example, Metropolitan Ministries, and having faced it myself, having seen friends and neighbors and colleagues who lost everything in the wake of the hurricanes of this past season. It does allow you to recognize that what truly matters is relationships, community, people, and things are just that. They're just things. We can't create so much of an emotional attachment to them. But in recognizing that there is opportunity to create new life if there's items that you have that could be of value to others.
Absolutely. That's incredibly well said. Well, thanks so much for being with us today, Nick. We really appreciate all the work that you and your entire team is doing to turn junk into hope and help communities bounce back. Nick, thanks so much.
Thank you.